comments where you guys would place all of your favorite and least favorite champs, where you guys think I should have or do place mine. And do not forget, like, subscribe, and check out all my other TFT content as well. Let's get started here. Who do I start with? I don't remember a lot of these champs, honestly. But I'm looking for somebody specific. I can't find her. Okay, there she is. Let's see. Draven, no matter what, always seems to be OP. Honestly, Viego in this set as well with his ability was insane. I think that was a super dope ability that he had, essentially changing a champion to your team. Kale was always super strong, OP as well with the redeemed team. And Karma was definitely the best Dawnbringer carry that you could do, for sure. She was always super OP as well. And honestly, Vel'Koz was as well. If you were running redeemed, he was definitely a strong carry in itself. Timu, I gotta put in B. As far as Hellions, yes, he was the 5 cost and great, but taking health away from you was a hard thing to choose. I believe that was this set where he would take away your health. But either way, I didn't really feel like he was even worth it, even outside of the whole health scenario there. Hecarim, always my boy, always one of my favorites for sure, even though Forgotten got changed and nerfed to the absolute ground and the trait was trash this mid set. The original Forgotten was easily one of my favorites, and I think Hecarim was definitely still a strong Cavalier tank carry. No matter what you were running him in, he's always going to be up there for me and one of my favorites. Thresh, always a good choice, always a good splash champ to be able to hook in whoever is in the back or furthest away from him, and that could definitely help you stop some of the carries that you were running against. Let's see. Lulu is always just mid for me. She is the most mid champion in every single set, and she seems to be in every single set, but still not too great. Ziggs, I gotta put in C. I don't really think he was too fantastic here with the Spellweaver Hellions. He was definitely one of the worst and just inconsistent with his ult as well. Volbear, I'll give to A. The biggest reason I can't really put him higher is just because of his traits having Brawler Revenant. I think it was just kind of always hard to splash him in unless you were going for a certain build. But I do think his counterpart Ivern deserves an S tier. I feel like every single person in every lobby was either running Ivern or at least at one point had him on their team because of how many traits this man had and how pretty good he was just in general. But definitely worth it. His Daisy call-in was always very good or annoying depending on what side of it you were on. But let's see. Fiddlesticks, honestly lackluster in this this set. Definitely much better in sets after this one. But I don't really think there's anything too much to say about Fiddlesticks in this set. He was okay for 4 cost, but definitely not 4 cost worth carrying for your team. Udyr, I gotta give to C. I think he again was one of the worst champs in this set. He was definitely just a trait bot, definitely not gonna carry at all for your team. Rel, I gotta give to S, honestly, just because of her 3 traits, she was always able to be put in, and she was always super good with her ability. She was definitely worth it, even worth throwing some items on her to make her the carry as well. She was definitely a strong champ throughout the entire set that was set 5.5. Senna, nothing crazy. She's always decent, but her traits definitely put her pretty behind in this set. Kled, I'll give to B, mostly just because the Cavalier trait, he was definitely splashable early on, and he was good, honestly, for a 1 cost for sure, but I don't feel like he deserves an A tier. Gragas, I'm going to put in B as well. I think the biggest reason for that is honestly just because he was such a tank, and then having the Dawnbringer trait on top of that with Brawler kept him alive for a really long time, so he was a good 1 cost tank up front. And then Vladimir, I got to put an A on top of that just because of how much healing he had with the Nightbringers. And I forget his other ability actually, or other trait rather, for this set, but still, Vladimir is pretty much always good being able to sustain wherever he is. Nautilus, much like Thresh, is one of those splashable champs, but his ability definitely carries him, being able to stun somebody for that long, and him having Ironclad, and I forget the other trait, but he was definitely good to splash in for sure, definitely worth it. Kenan, I gotta put an S, honestly. I feel like Kenan, every set that he is in, is a very strong champ. His ability being able to dash to multiple targets, stun them, and burn them was super strong, especially if you threw some items on him like Morello or something like that. And him being able to come back alive with the Hellions just made it that much better because you knew he was pretty much always going to be there at least twice. Misfortune, I got to put in B. While her ability was good, unfortunately the forgotten trait in this mid set of 5.5 was changed and destroyed, so it was pretty trash. So unfortunately we couldn't put her any higher here. Diana, I got to give to A. A lot of people are going to say she should be an S, and I don't necessarily disagree. I just think as an assassin champion, my goal for them is to get kills, and she never really did that. She was much more of a disruptor, and while she was definitely arguably the best utility disruptor in this set, if not, she was definitely up there for it. She really didn't get a whole lot of kills for the backline. She would just disrupt them, which again is great, and she had good traits in this set for sure for her to be able to do that and to be successful, but kill wise for an assassin just wasn't really there for me. But still, she's one of my. I wish I could put her in S tier, but I can't really put a utility disruptor too much higher, even though I kind of did with Kenan, but he's also 2 costs that you could 3-star, compared to, at best, you're going to 2-star Diana unless you really push for her. Riven's always really great. I just feel like I can't put her in S. I didn't feel like, honestly, if anybody from Dawnbringers that I can put into S tier, it's Nidalee. Her doing damage in the backline and then changing into her Tiger or Cougar or whatever you want to call it, and dodging so many attacks and abilities, and her doing a whole lot of damage. She was definitely arguably the best Dawnbringer carry, in my opinion, for sure. At least more than Riven was. I would trust Nidalee in this mid set much more than I did Riven, for sure. So I'm going to put in C as well. I think he was literally just a trait bot for sure. His ability was not too amazing. He was definitely better in, I believe, the next set when he would jump around much more. Syndra, I gotta put an A. I think she was a great redeemed champion. I think with Leona being very hard to kill, and then her coming after these champions that I'm currently putting up in Varus and Lux, she would just keep them away. I mean, as soon as you would get close to Syndra or the backline champs, once you got through Leona, she would just toss you away, do a shit ton of damage, and she was definitely worth a 2 cost. And honestly, even some abilities as well. And same with Aatrox. Once you got through Leona and Aatrox, you were probably already dead between Varus shooting the shit out of you, and Lux shielding everybody, and Syndra tossing you around. But even if you got through these two, Syndra would just toss you back. And this was a solid choice team right here, especially once you would get to Vel'Koz and Kayle as well. Redeemed was definitely strong throughout the entire set. Nocturne definitely deserves an A. I almost want to put him an S, but I feel like his traits keep him from being there. Healing and whatnot from his ability was massive. I should say, was it just his passive or was it his actual ability? Maybe both. But if you weren't running it, the way you could really run Nocturne is if you were running Assassins. He wasn't a 3 trait, he was just 2. So he was a little bit harder to splash in, but he was definitely worth the carry, especially if you had the right items for him. Aurelia as a 2 cost, I believe she had 3 traits. Skirmisher, I forget some of the other ones. I want to say maybe like, oh, I don't even know. Oh, Sentinel and something else. But the Sentinel trait was pretty decent. I think between her, Lucian probably deserves an A tier. I would say the same with Rakan, with how much shielding he already did in himself. And then Pyke as well. They were all very, very strong, very good choices. Definitely did not deserve S tiers though, but were very, very good. Olaf, he may have been a Sentinel as well. I think he was Sentinel Skirmisher. But he was alright. He was definitely just an early game trait bot. And still good with his ability, which was like a passive healing one. But carry-wise, it just was not there. Brand, I'm going to give to B as well. I think you definitely could carry with A-Bomb Brand for sure. But you were much better off going Nunu or even Callista to carry with Abominations. I don't remember who was the 4 and 5 cost ones, but that might just be my bad. But either way, Nunu was very, very strong and definitely worth it. And then Yasuo, I feel like deserves an A tier. I feel like he was a very strong 3 cost Nightbringer carry for sure. I would argue even one of the only Nightbringer carries, if not the best. Aphelios was definitely there as well. I just I feel like he wasn't as good as he should have been. He was definitely strong, definitely could dish out a shit ton of damage, but he definitely had to ramp up and become great. Gwen, I gotta put in B. Honestly, I don't think she was that great. I think that's mostly due to her traits. She was definitely a good champ and could definitely do a whole lot of damage, but trait-wise really hurt her for sure. Nightbringer Sejuani with Cavalier. I gotta put in B. I've never been a Sejuani fan, but she was decent. The Cavalier trait was definitely pretty overall strong in this set throughout it. But aside from that, she was definitely not too much of a 2-cost carry. Set, I don't remember being very good at all in this set or in this mid set, but not the worst, but definitely more of a trait bot, not really going to carry your team. Zyra, while she is definitely inconsistent and definitely did not have the best traits this set, I have always had some unfound love for her because of her ability. When she actually hits her ability, it can be absolutely devastating, and I feel like because she's so inconsistent, she is pretty easy to 3-star because a lot of people just don't run her. You put Rabadon Deathcap or Jeweled Gauntlet or something on her, or both, she's just going to wreck the enemy team so long as she hits her ability. If she doesn't, it's a wrap. You're going to lose. Vayne, biggest reason I can't put her above B is honestly just the forgotten trait in this mid set. The original forgotten trait, she deserves higher than a B for sure. Definitely a decent champ always. That's in every single set, no matter what cost she is, because of her true damage and whatnot. But aside from that, nothing too crazy. Jax definitely deserves an A tier. I think, again, like a lot of champs, the biggest reason why he's not higher is because of his traits, but he was definitely always seems to be a pretty strong champion no matter his cost or traits. So he was definitely a very solid choice and carry as well. Akshan, honestly, underwhelming to me. I feel like he didn't fit into too many comps, and honestly, I didn't feel like he made too much of a difference. He just kind of kept himself alive, but it's not really any different than like the current set 8.5 prankster or somebody that can dash away or whatever. But he wasn't bad, but as a 5 cost, he was definitely, to me, on the lower end of it. Same with Heimerdinger on Yordles. Garen, I will put up to A tier because I feel like he was a super strong carry, which I'm surprised. I feel like they got rid of Darius for the Nightbringers for some reason, but maybe he is just not in this group for some reason. But anyway, Garen was definitely super strong. Honestly, probably deserves an S tier because he was so strong. Tristana, I feel like Tristana wasn't too fantastic this mid set. She was definitely still very strong, very good choice for Hellion Cannoneer, but with other Cannoneers being at least as good as her, and the Hellion trait not having too many great tanks up front, she wasn't as successful as she could have been. Poppy, always gotta love her trying. She's always some 1 cost trying to tank out as much as she can. I actually have always liked her ability throwing the buckle to furthest away champ and coming back to shield herself, but hard to be great, right? Ashe, I actually don't really remember Ashe in this set at all, but she's always decent no matter what. Galio was definitely strong for sure, with his ability. Definitely can tank him up and have him wipe the board slowly but surely. Lee Sin, I actually really enjoyed this set, him slamming down into an area and doing a pretty good amount of damage. He was definitely, I actually have a video of him carrying my team in the Nightbringers for Lee Sin, because I think that he could, and he did, with his ability. And then Soraka, I also have to put an A. I think she was an underrated carry for the Dawnbringers, and the amount of damage she could really do for sure. But let me know down in the comments what you guys think, where you guys would place all of your set 5.5 champions. Let me know what you guys thought about where I placed mine. Please don't forget, check out all my other TFT content, whether it's tier list or each and every set videos and builds. Don't forget, like, subscribe. We will see you in the next one.